What's going on, guys? Rob from the Razor's Edge, and today I'm testing out a stone for Eric The Cajun Blade. This was sent to me by Joe from Subtle Art. He played around with it, and it's a black African stone. And I can tell you first impression that this thing does not slurry easily. It's a very hard stone, like an Arkansas. And I mean, it's like the lightest slurry that you've ever seen, and this is off of a 400 Atoma. So just generating a slurry on this seems to be a little, I don't want to say challenging, but a little bit of work. The razor that I am going to be testing on this stone is my 4/8 Ti. I haven't really used this razor much. It's a Spartacus, and wow, that's interesting. Right off the bat, it feels like the tape that I have on the spine is a little bit draggy on this stone. But anyways, I already set the bevel on this razor. I did a 1K Tricera, a 3K Ninawa, and then a 6K Rockstar. So I'm basically just in the final stages here of finishing up this particular hone, and I'll be taking, after this, I'll be taking one of the razors that I showed you guys in that unboxing video, that Werner Breedenbach, the 14, and I think I'm going to run that more or less on a synthetic bevel set, possibly conical, haven't decided yet. And then the first two stones I think that I'm gonna demonstrate is the Water of Air, which I have one, but Matt from GRIFFITH gave me another one, and he also gave me a translucent arc. I have a black Arkansas, and I really like mine. I like the finish that it provides. But I think I'm going to basically do a progression on those stones today. I also have a couple of J-Nats that I haven't even showed you guys. I've been kind of playing around with those. And I just want to redo the edge on my frame back and take that from zero to hero on one of the new J-Nats that I have with a Nagura progression. So as of right now, I'm just 2 hairs in air and just basically just gliding this TI Spartacus 4/8 edger, and I'll be using this and that Werner Breedenbach for my next shave, so that I can give you guys my impressions of this stone and my impressions of the translucent arc that Matt gave me. So that's my goal for the weekend, is to get these few stones tested out and play around with them. And I will say this stone has a nice feel to it. It almost feels like an arc, except it's silent. There's absolutely zero sound coming from it. So there's really not a lot of audible feedback. But it does have a kind of a glassy, smooth feeling to it, so that's kind of cool. Like I said, I took this particular razor up to 6K, to the point where, you know, I was kind of plinking some of the arm hair on my arm, and I knew that bevel was set nice, and I just gave it a quick glance under the scope when I was done, and it looks good from heel to toe on both sides. So I figured those are all the telltale signs that lets me know that I can go to my finished stone and start to do some of the finish work. So I'm not trying to go crazy as far as the amount of passes, but at the same time, I definitely want the finish edge on this blade to be from this stone. One thing I have noticed about this stone, even though it's hard, it seems to soak in moisture like no one's business. It starts to dry out fairly quick, which isn't a big deal. You know, you can always replenish that that water or moisture or whatever you're using. But basically, no pressure. I mean, I can do these finished passes with one hand if I really want. I've been trying to practice doing the one-handed passes so that I know that I'm not putting too much pressure on the toe. But still being somewhat new to all of this, I still like to kind of use that guide every once in a while. And like I said, these two fingers, when I'm guiding, I mean, I'm not putting any pressure. I'm just making sure that the toe of the spine is staying, you know, against the stone. That's all. I just don't want it to lift because, especially if I'm running X's off the edge of the stone, I definitely, personally, at this point, I like to kind of guide it with my left hand on the toe, just to make sure that I'm not going to come up off the stone and trash my edge off the edge of the stone. I put a little bit of time into this last night, playing around with it. You know, this particular razor has never really been 100% since I started, and I figured out why last night. There was a little bit of a warp in this particular blade when I got it. I had to do a little bit of spine work to make sure that the spine was touching all the way across. And it wasn't until last night when I ran it on the synthetics that I got a nice full clean bevel all the way to the tip. So I'm pretty darn confident that this razor is going to be night and day from the last time I used it. So. But in order to feel like this is not just a synthetic edge that I'm running on this stone, I figured I'd drum up some slurry, run this thing for a decent amount of passes so that it picks up this particular stone's edge. Because I'm very curious myself on this stone. When I saw Joe's video, he seemed to like the edge from it, so I'm going to imagine I'm going to like it as well. But you don't know until you try sometimes. Yeah, I would venture to say that this almost has that soft feeling of a J-Nat, this particular stone. I just don't know how it's going to finish. So Eric sent it to me through Joe so that I could basically give him my opinion. And then it'll be off to Sean G. I was thinking I was going to send it off to Sean G today, but most likely it'll be first thing Monday morning. I got sucked into Sean Staplefeld's live today, so I didn't get the jump on it like I was planning on. But I really enjoy those lives. You know, all of us in the community get to kind of chit chat real time, and I think that's pretty cool. Just gonna give it a little spritz there. I'm going to kind of do somewhat of a Dollicott method here, where I'm just kind of slowly diluting this little bit of slurry down to get that edge just a little finer each time. I figured 50 to 100 passes on this should do it. So I wasn't expecting for this to be a very long video. I saved you guys the hassle of you know, going through the bevel set with me. This is just the finish work. And I can tell you right now that originally when I was setting this bevel, I was not touching all the way to the toe, and I was not touching at the heel, and now I'm touching all the way across. So I definitely have what I'd refer to as a solid bevel on this straight razor now. And as always, when I get to my finished work, I mean, light as a feather. I mean, I'm barely putting any pressure, if at all. I'm just letting the stone do the work. Sorry, I was just looking at the time there. I want this particular honing session to be reasonable for you guys, because Matt gave me 9 different stones, and I've been trying to decide, you know, what order I want to do them in, and so I've got a decent amount of honing to do, which is actually I'm looking forward to, because the bulk of my razors are all honed up, and I really don't need to take them to the stones. The last TI shave that I did, though, I was thinking I might take that one to the stones. It was sharp, but it wasn't as comfortable as my wolf blade shave, for example. So I don't know if it's a hair under the keenness that I like or a hair over the keenness that I like, but it's just something about it just felt a little off. So I'll do the same thing that I'm doing with this, and I'll take it back down, re-bevel it, and put a nice comfortable edge. Add just a little more water here. It's always good to keep those stones nice and wet. After I reset the bevel on this thing, on the synthetics yesterday, the undercut has been pretty darn consistent from my 1K Chaucera forward. So, and I got to try out a brand new 6K Rockstar last night for the first time, and gotta say, it's half the thickness of a Chaucera, but it's also half the price. And in a nutshell, those Rockstars are Shapton glass stones without the glass backer. They're very nice. I have a set of G7s, which are basically the small version of the Shapton glass. And I played around with those last week for a little while. And I really like the feel of them and the results. So if I need to replace any synthetics down the line in the future, I'll definitely be getting Rockstars. They're good stones. They have a nice feel to them, nice feedback. I started off with the Ninawas, or Naniwas, however you want to pronounce that. And they have a softness to them, kind of gummy. And the Rockstars remind me of the Chauceras. They're a little harder. You have a little bit more feedback, and it's kind of nice. And we're at about 14 minutes or so. So I'm gonna go just a little bit longer here, just to make sure that my finish edge picks up the characteristics of this stone. And it's starting to have a little bit of a sticky effect, which I personally don't like. When it starts to stick, I I feel like it's about time to stop, or add something like an O&R, or maybe a slightly different solution, maybe a soapy water, something like that. So I'm actually gonna call this the slurry Dolicat, if you will, the dilution here done. And I'm just gonna run a couple passes here with some soapy water. And I don't care what stone I'm on, when I start switching over to soapy water or the O&R solution or oil, I mean, I do zero pressure. Whatever the weight of the blade is, I'm just guiding it over the stone, making sure that I continue to get decent undercut. So in a second here, I'm gonna pull up my sleeve and just see how this puppy's shaving up my arm. I know what it felt like last night when I was done with the 6K. So I'll see if it appears to be any keener, which obviously it should. And to each his own, but sometimes I like to finish on soapy water, sometimes I like to finish on that O&R, sometimes I like to finish on oil. That's really just a personal preference. All right, I'm gonna give this a rinse. Give it a quick wipe here. Dry it off. Roll up my sleeve here and see where we're at. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it just annihilated every hair that was on my arm. So I would have to say that we're pretty much where I need to be. So I'm gonna dry this razor off and get my next razor ready, and I will see you guys on that video. You guys have a good one. See you next time.